Hi, everyone. Today, we will discuss the recently concluded Beijing Declaration between Fatah and Hamas under the mediation of China and its likely impacts on the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict. So, between July 21st and July 23rd, 14 Palestinian political factions, including Fatah, which is the Palestinian National Liberation Organization, and Hamas, signed an agreement in Beijing, China, which has been dubbed as the Beijing Declaration. And this declaration seeks to establish an interim unity government, which is controlled by both actors in the state or the so-called state of Palestine. The key provisions of the Beijing Declaration are as follows. Number one, it seeks the formation of a state of Palestine based on the pre-1967 borders before Israel seized East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank. Secondly, the declaration seeks to craft a plan to pave the way for the formation of an interim national reconciliation government uh, following the ongoing war in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. Thirdly, this interim government will seek to oversee the post-war reconstruction and make preparations for elections. So, well, as rosy as it may sound, Sitati, at this juncture, I would like to invite you to do a critical assessment of how robust such a declaration sounds and how, what is the longevity of such a declaration? How do you think that it would sustain?
Well, many thanks, Ramu. I mean, it's important to appreciate the fact that there's a high possibility of the Beijing Declaration. Beijing Declaration, I mean, not being implemented, just like previous agreements. I mean, the Cairo 2011 and the Algiers 2022 agreements. And all this is due to several factors. I mean, for example, both Hamas and Fatah have historical fundamental differences regarding the future of the Palestinian, people and state. And such differences are unlikely to change in the future. It may also be difficult, I mean, to convince Hamas to work together with the Palestinian Authority in the post-war reconstruction of Gaza, assuming that the war ends without the extermination of Hamas. It's also important to appreciate the fact that the Palestinian Authority is not highly popular among a significant number of Palestinians because of, it is perceived as a corrupt entity, and it's also considered as an enabler of the Israeli occupation, It's also critical to acknowledge that regional geopolitical dynamics will play out in light of the, Beijing Declaration. Centered to this is the fact that Israel and its key allies, the US and the UK in particular, will fight back, China's plans to unify the Palestinian political and militant factions. Second to that is the fact that the involvement of Hamas in the post-war administration of Gaza still hangs in the balance, given the demands by Israel and the US. Israel maintains that, Hamas should not be involved in the post-war administration of Gaza. A similar position to the US, although the US favors the Palestinian administration. And of course, China will massively benefit in case of a unified interim Palestinian administration in the post-war period. But as we have mentioned, that still hangs in the balance. So in the short term, I mean, what do we expect, in terms of business implications, Raul?
Well, thanks, Sitati. I mean, that was a very concise explanation with a lot of, good criticism also involved. I mean, it was a really critical analysis of things that you have just mentioned. Well, yeah, I mean, just to continue on a less optimistic note, so in the short term, this Beijing Declaration is less likely to impact the course of the Israel-Hamas war. The agreement, for one, does not have any provisions for pursuing a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Secondly, businesses with operational exposure in the Middle East and other regions will continue facing exposure to the risks arising from the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Thank you very much.